in the town of St. Lucia, we've got elephant in close proximity. They live on the western side of Lake St. Lucia usually, and then they sometimes cross into the eastern side. And tourists see them quite frequently. So I became aware of an elephant with a snare around its leg, and I had more than one report. And again, it's a very dense area. It's not the sort of area that you can just get in a helicopter and go and look for the elephant with a snare on. I had to wait for this sort of opportunistic moment when somebody reported it, and I happened to be in the area and I could respond. And in this particular instance, I remember I was actually in my office doing some work, and I got this call. It was over a weekend, and I had everything packed in preparation for this call out. So it was a quick reaction. I was there very quickly because it was pretty close to the town of St. Lucia, and I found a vehicle, the same vehicle that with people in it that had reported it. They told me where it was, and it was, again, fortunately on a little track that was going off the main road, and an open area that I could actually get a dart in. So I darted it from the vehicle, and then just watched it to see what was going to happen, bearing in mind the other elephant around. So I needed some backup. I was not armed. I didn't have a rifle, and I was trying desperately to get hold of some ranger staff to come and help me. And it just so happened that on that particular day, the cell phone coverage went down. So the cell phones were out. There was no ways I could phone anybody. And the radio inexplicably also was not working in that particular area. I was not connecting to a receiver. So I was literally on my own. And I heard the elephant, it disappeared into a thick forest, and I heard it fall down. So I knew it was down. And I ran into the forest, found the elephant, and it had gone down in a very awkward position. We like to have elephants lying on their sides, where they are far more comfortable and their respiration is unimpaired. In this case, it was on its chest, which puts pressure on the lungs, and it's not a good position for an elephant to be in. And being a very young elephant, it was probably only about a 11-year-old teenager, going on to a teenager. I realized I'd probably give it a little bit too much. You know, it's often in wildlife veterinary medicine, you tend to err on the too much than too little, because you want to get that animal down. But I was still concerned, even though I could have done something to correct it. So I was in a rush and on my own with no assistance. And the worst thing about it was the snare was on the back leg, and the elephant had gone down in such a manner that the back leg was pinned underneath the body. And as one person on your own, you can forget. Are not going to be able to get to that leg. So I ran back to the road because it was very close to where I'd last seen the tourists. And the tourists were gone because I was going to elicit their help, to say, please come and help me. There were a couple of young guys, fit guys in the car when they reported it, and it's gone. So I rushed back to the elephant, and then I basically proceeded to dig a hole underneath the leg where I could at least get to the snare, and I was able to remove it with a cutting tool. And now I'm getting worried because I can sense that this elephant is not comfortable. I can't push it over onto its side. It's just impossible. I've got to get this elephant up. I must wake it up. But at the same time, I must give it some antibiotics, and I must treat the wound. So it was a mad scramble with trying to put some wound flush on the wound and inject antibiotics at the same time. And, you know, you get really frustrated. I had syringes lying all over the place. There were medicine bottles lying all over the place. And at last I managed to get the antidote out. Oh, and the worst thing about it was I could hear other elephants around. And, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, what happens if they get between me and the car? And it was a panic. And to cut a long story short, I managed to give it the antidote, and then and got back to the vehicle, and the elephant woke up, and everything was fine.